It was an ordinary Friday afternoon at the Silver Maple Diner, a cozy little roadside restaurant that sat quietly between the bustling city and the open highway. The lunch rush had begun, and the smell of grilled burgers, fresh coffee, and golden fries filled the air, but the heart of the diner beat through the gentle, quiet footsteps of a young woman named Lila. She moved with purpose but kept her gaze low, as though trying to disappear into the background, her face mostly hidden beneath the soft brim of her faded cap. To anyone who didn't know her, Lila seemed like just another shy waitress, quiet and reserved, barely speaking unless spoken to. But those who took the time to really look at her, really see her, noticed the faint silvery scars that ran like lightning bolts across the right side of her face and down her neck. They weren't fresh, but they were jarring, and they told a story without a single word. Most customers were decent enough to pretend they didn't see them. A few offered kind smiles, some left generous tips out of quiet respect. But not everyone was so kind. That afternoon, 3 loud teenagers barged in, the kind of group that fed off each other's arrogance. Dressed in expensive brands, with cocky smirks plastered on their faces, they pushed through the diner door as though they owned the place. As Lila approached their table with her notepad and soft voice, they barely gave her a glance before one of them, a tall boy with gelled hair and a loud laugh, leaned back in his seat and sneered, "Hey, Freddy Krueger called, he wants his face back." The table erupted in laughter, but Lila froze. Her hand gripped the edge of her notepad tightly, knuckles whitening, yet she said nothing. She simply nodded, took their orders with a quiet, "Thank you," and turned away. The boys weren't done. They whispered just loud enough to be heard, mockingly commenting on how the kitchen probably caught fire because she walked in, and laughing again like hyenas. Lila kept walking. She always kept walking. That's how she survived. You learn to ignore the pain when it's part of your daily routine. You learn to wear invisibility like armor. But what she didn't know was that in the corner booth, near the window where sunlight warmed the scratched table, sat an older man with steel gray hair and a quiet intensity in his eyes. He wore a brown leather jacket with a military patch on the arm, and his posture was that of a man who had seen too much to laugh at cruelty. He had been watching the entire thing, and his jaw tightened with every word the teen spat. He recognized the waitress immediately. Not her name, but her scars. They weren't just skin deep. He knew those marks, those patterns. He had seen them on his own men. He had seen them on children in war zones. And he had seen them on heroes. As Lila passed his table, the veteran caught her eye for the briefest second and gave her a small, solemn nod. She blinked, unsure what it meant, but she kept walking, heart pounding, a flicker of emotion dancing behind her quiet mask. The lunch rush continued, and the boys grew louder, bolder. They called her Scarface when she brought their fries. They mimicked burns and winced dramatically like she was radioactive. Other customers were starting to notice. A young couple looked uncomfortable. An older woman shook her head, but no one spoke up. Fear and awkwardness kept them silent. Lila, still wordless, wiped a tear quickly when no one was looking and disappeared into the kitchen. But the veteran had seen enough. Slowly, he stood, his boots clicking softly against the tile floor. The entire diner fell into a hush as the old soldier walked over to the table of bullies. One of them looked up with a smirk. "Hey Gramps, you lose your walker." He chuckled. But the smile faded when the veteran leaned in, his voice cold and steel-edged. "Stand up," he said to the boy who had made the worst jokes. The teen blinked. "What?" I said, the veteran repeated, louder this time, "Stand up." Confused and trying to act tough, the boy rose halfway from his seat. "Look, old man, I don't know who you think you," but he didn't get to finish. The veteran took a single step back, turned toward the kitchen where Lila had just emerged, and raised his right hand in a sharp, perfect salute. The diner went dead silent. Lila stopped in her tracks, tray in hand, eyes wide with disbelief. The air thickened with emotion. "This woman," the veteran said loudly, his voice steady and full of authority, "is a survivor. A warrior. She bears the scars of courage, not weakness. I've seen soldiers cry from wounds smaller than hers. And you mock her like cowards hiding behind laughter because you've never fought a real battle in your life." The boy sat down quickly, face pale. His friends suddenly found their shoes fascinating. "I was in Kandahar," the veteran continued, eyes never leaving Lila's. "IEDs, gunfire, smoke, fire. I saw kids, brave kids, run into burning buildings to save their siblings. I saw faces like hers. And every time I did, I thank God I lived in a world with people like that. You don't mock someone with scars like those. You honor them. You salute them. He looked at Lila, his voice softer now. Thank you. For surviving. For being here. For continuing to serve others despite what you've been through. Lila's lips trembled. She had never been publicly acknowledged like that before. Ever. Her knees felt weak, but her heart swelled. A tear slipped down her cheek, but this time, she didn't hide it. The veteran turned back to the boys. Now you apologize. Every single one of you. Right now. The boys, shaken and thoroughly embarrassed, stumbled over their words, muttering sorries with heads down, red-faced and ashamed. Lila nodded slightly but didn't say a word. The power of the moment spoke louder than anything else. The veteran walked back to his booth, picked up his coat, and left a $50 bill on the table. As he walked out, other customers stood and clapped quietly. A few wiped away tears. The energy in the diner had completely shifted. Lila stood frozen, unsure how to process it all. But one thing was clear, she wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. She was respected. She was something more than her scars, she was a symbol of strength. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled. That moment became the spark. The story was recorded by a customer who uploaded it online. Within days, it went viral. Veteran salutes waitress mocked for scars, trended worldwide. Messages flooded in. People wanted to know her story. They wanted to tell her how brave she was. And even though Lila wasn't ready to tell the world everything just yet, she finally believed one powerful thing, that her scars were not shameful. They were her armor, her survival, her proof that she'd faced fire and walked out the other side stronger. The bullies never returned to the diner. But Lila did. Every day, head held higher than before. And every so often, she'd catch a customer looking at her scars, not with pity, but with admiration. The kind that doesn't fade.